When we think about politics, we usually picture parliaments, elections, big debates, right? But what if I told you that some of the most important political issues aren't out there, but right inside our own homes? It turns out the most personal parts of our lives, especially things shaped by gender, are actually deeply, deeply political. Take a look at this. It's a scene many of us recognize, isn't it? A mother, clearly busy with all the tasks of managing a home. And yet, she might say something like, "Oh, I don't work." And that's not just a casual phrase. It points to this huge blind spot in our society. We just don't see all this labor in the home as real work, even though it's a massive burden that, let's be honest, mostly falls on women.
So let's just ask a different question. What if we flip this whole idea on its head? What if this is work? And what if it's not just a private family matter, but a political one? What if how we divide up the chores is actually about how we divide up power? Suddenly things start to look very, very different. To really get this, we have to pull back the curtain and look at the invisible rules of our society. It's like this unspoken system that's running in the background, quietly shaping our lives and our choices pretty much from the day we're born.
And at the very core of this system is something called the sexual division of labor. Now, the most important thing to understand here is that this has absolutely nothing to do with biology. It's not about who's physically capable of doing laundry or cooking. It's all about a powerful social expectation, this deep-seated belief that it's just a woman's natural role to take care of the home.
And cartoons like this, they just nail it, don't they? They show how we're constantly surrounded by these images of the ideal woman. You have to be the perfect mom, have a successful career, look amazing, all at once. These stereotypes just lock in the idea that certain jobs and roles are just naturally for women.
And this whole system, it has a name: patriarchy. Now, the word literally means rule by the father, but it's really talking about a much bigger social structure, one where men tend to hold the power and where things associated with men are just valued more highly. This is the framework that holds up all the inequalities we're about to see in the numbers.
Okay, so let's move from the invisible rules to the very visible consequences. Because this isn't just a theory. You can actually see the impact in the hard data, and it reveals some really stark inequalities.
Just look at this data from India. It's absolutely staggering. Women spend 5 hours a day on household work. Men, half an hour. And don't forget, a lot of these women also have paying jobs. This is what's known as the second shift. You finish your official workday, and then you come home to start a whole other job, one that's completely unpaid and unrecognized.
And this inequality starts early, really early. Look at this literacy gap. Just 54% for women compared to 76% for men. This has zero to do with ability. In fact, we know that girls often do even better than boys in school. This is all about a society that just doesn't value a girl's potential in the same way, leading families to put a son's education first. And here we see the most tragic result of this whole system. This map shows a skewed child sex ratio across large parts of India. What does that mean? It means that the intense preference for having sons has led to heartbreaking practices like sex-selective abortion. It's a really chilling reminder that these social values can literally be a matter of life and death.
So, when you're up against an inequality this deep, how do you even start to make a change? Well, for generations of activists, the answer was clear. You have to get a seat at the table. You have to get into politics.
But seriously, how do you fix a system that's woven into the very fabric of society? If the problem at its root is about an imbalance of power, then the only real solution has to be about redistributing that power.
And gaining that power has been a huge uphill battle. I mean, look at this chart from 2018. Women's representation in India's parliament was way below the world average, and not even in the same league as places like the Nordic countries. And this isn't just about numbers. It's about who gets to make the laws we all live by.
And this is exactly why feminist movements have fought so incredibly hard for political representation. The thinking is actually pretty simple. If women aren't in the rooms where the big decisions get made, then the issues that affect them the most, everything from unequal pay to domestic violence, are just going to keep getting pushed to the side.
This path to power has been a long one. It started with those big global movements fighting for the basic right to vote. Here in India, that fight led to a really groundbreaking policy, reserving 1/3 of all seats in local governments for women. Think about that. That one move brought over 1 million women into the political game.
And that long fight finally led to this, a truly historic moment in 2023. After decades of being debated and stalled, the Women's Reservation Act was finally passed. This law reserves 33%, one-third, of seats in the national and state legislatures for women. It's a monumental step, a real potential game-changer for rebalancing political power in India.
But of course, gender isn't the only personal identity that gets political. The exact same dynamics of power, of representation, and of inequality, they play out across all sorts of other social divisions too.
Let's think about religion for a second. When Gandhiji said this, that religion can never be separated from politics, he wasn't saying the government should be based on one faith. Not at all. He meant that politics needed the moral and ethical values that are at the core of all religions. Compassion, justice, truth.
But there is a very dark side to mixing religion and politics, and it's called communalism. This is what happens when faith gets twisted and used as a political weapon, to divide people, to say one group is better than another, and to turn communities against each other just to win votes. It's the complete opposite of what Gandhi was talking about.
So all of this leaves us with a really big and honestly a pretty complicated question to think about. We've seen how making a personal identity, gender, political, was absolutely essential for women to fight for equality. So does that mean we should fight against all the divisions that separate us? Or is expressing these different identities, whether it's gender, religion, or something else, actually necessary for a society to be truly fair and democratic? That's definitely